Okay, everybody, I have up on the board two quadratic equations, but now the directions do not say to solve. They say find the value of the discriminant and describe the solutions. So what that's telling me is I don't actually want to know the actual answers for x. I want to know what the answers would be. Would they be real? Would they not exist at all? Would they be rational? Would they be irrational? Would there be two solutions? Would there be one? And that goes to show you in this quadratic formula, the most important part of this formula that decides what type of answers we'll get for x is right here, what's under the square root. So what's under the square root, the b squared minus 4ac is given a name. It's called the discriminant. So when you work that out and get one number, that one number has a special name. It's the discriminant. And depending on what kind of answer you get for the discriminant, will tell you what types of solutions we would have if we actually gone through and solved our quadratic equations for x. So, again, in order to substitute into b squared minus 4ac to find the value of the discriminant, we first have to have our equation set equal to 0 in the correct descending order. So in this first equation, I'm going to subtract x. None of my terms are alike. I have x squared minus x minus 12 equals 0. A is the coefficient in front of x squared, it's 1. B is the coefficient in front of x, it is negative 1. C is the constant, negative 12. So if I was being asked to solve, I would fill in the whole quadratic formula. But just because I'm being asked to describe the solutions, I'm only going to fill in the part underneath the square root, the b squared minus 4ac. So if I do that, my b is negative 1. So I'd have negative 1 squared minus 4. My a is 1. My c is negative 12. So then I do my calculation. I do order of operations. I'd square first. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. I'd multiply. A negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 12 is 48. I'm not done. Now to add, and I get 49. That number is called the discriminant. If your discriminant is 49, two things are going on. It's positive, which means we can square root it, and it's a perfect square. And if you square root a perfect square, you would get a whole number. So when your discriminant is a positive number and is a perfect square, you are guaranteed if you worked out this whole formula, you would have two answers for x. They would be real, and they would be rational. And the reason why they'd be rational is because rational means they can be written as a fraction. And the square root of 49 is 7, and 7 can be written as a fraction as 7 over 1. So without actually solving for x and getting the two answers like we've done previously and then describing them, we could just use this part of the formula to know what kind of answers we should get at the end. To me, it's kind of like a helpful hint to say, hey guys, when you're done working this whole formula, you better have two answers that are either fractions or whole numbers. Let's try another one. I have 3x squared plus 2x equals negative 1. It's quadratic. The question wants to know the value of the discriminant and describe the solution. So I'm not saying solve. I'm not saying work out the whole formula. So the first thing I want to do is, in order for me to find the value of the discriminant, I need to know what a, b, and c are. So I'm going to set this equation equal to 0. I'm going to add 1. So I have 3x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 0. My a is 3. My b is 2. My c is 1. Everybody's clear with that? Great. If I want the value of the discriminant, I'm only doing the part of the formula under the square root. So I want to do b squared minus 4ac. b is 2. So I'm going to write 2 squared minus 4. A is 3. C is 1. Now I'm going to do my calculation. 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 times 1 is still negative 12. I'm not done yet. I have to get this to be one number. 4 minus 12 is negative 8. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you had underneath this square root symbol the number negative 8, Could you do the square root of a negative? No, which means we couldn't proceed and finish the calculation, which means that's telling me when I work this discriminant, because it's negative, I would not have real answers. I wouldn't have any answers at all. I would have no real solution. So when your discriminant is a negative number, it's guaranteeing underneath here, you did not get a real solution. You couldn't proceed. You couldn't work out the rest of the equation. And that finishes up quadratic equations.